evening and welcome to the Evening News for today, Monday, July 10, 2023. I am Jemima Holmes. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's take a look at some of the lead stories tonight. APNU+AFC failed to seek parliamentary approval for $179 million spent on sea defense works in 2019. High volume of feedback on new petroleum bill received, says BHARRAT. 800 persons benefit from low, moderate house lots along East Coast Demerara. Financing for LETHEM to MABURA Road on agenda for President Ali's visit to China, and new breakfast items to be introduced as menu for school feeding program revamped. Now for the news in detail. Despite the former APNU+AFC government spending $179.3 million in 2019 on sea defense works following breaches at Danzig Region 5, this expenditure is yet to be accounted for at the level of the National Assembly. Here is Dr Bryan with the details.
During Monday's sitting of the Public Accounts Committee, PAC, the Ministry of Agriculture was put under the microscope. In his 2019 report, the Auditor General found that two checks totaling $179.3 million were paid in 2019 to the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority. The Auditor General had found that the Ministry of Agriculture breached the law by withdrawing this sum in the first place. Further probing by PAC member and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Gail Teixeira resulted in the revelation that no supplementary paper was ever brought to the National Assembly to cover this sum.
There was no supplementary financial paper in 2019. Between January and May, Parliament met, and the last sitting in Parliament was May 2019. There was no supplementary financial paper for contingencies or consolidated fund made in 2019. So how was this release of 179 paid out of the consol fund on the 31st of December?
Right. Consolidated fund, Minister.
But it still has to have a supplementary to cover it, Ms. PS. And there was no supplementary financial paper for the year of 2019.
It was explained that the monies were spent to address sea defense breaches at Danzig Region 5, Mahaica Berbice. At the time, Danzig came under massive flooding. The expenditure was therefore considered an emergency. However, by law, the supplementary paper must be submitted and backdated, ensuring a public record of how the money was spent. And Teixeira noted that when the PPPC government came to power in September 2020, they brought supplemental papers for expenditures they were given documents for. Danzig seems not to have been one of them.
The point is that 2019 was the last budget that was passed, and that the Constitution says the budget should be passed by the end of March annually. In this case, it was an aberration because it wasn't passed until October 2020. Whatever documents were available between January and September were provided to the government and late. In some way, there was an omission by somebody in terms of their submissions to include this contingency fund extraction in December 2019. So I have nothing more to say on this. I'm just saying that these contingency funds must be covered as consol funds by supplementary financial papers, whether a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, or a year later.
Meanwhile, PAC member Ganesh Maipal proposed that now that the matter has been raised, the current PPPC government should bring the supplementary paper to the National Assembly. Dr Bryan, The Evening News.
Government has received a plethora of submissions on the new Petroleum Activities Bill, and these are currently being assessed for possible inclusion in the draft legislation. Dr Bryan joins us again with the details.
The draft Petroleum Activities Bill that will eventually replace the 1986 Petroleum Act was released last month for public feedback over a 2-week period. Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat has since revealed to this newscast that a plethora of submissions was received.
We've received from stakeholders, we've received from the oil and gas companies as well.
The opposition?
We have received, no, we have not received from the opposition, other than what we have seen in the media.
The minister said even though the 2-week period for submitting comments has passed, it is not too late for the opposition to make submissions. Though the opposition did not formally submit feedback, it did release to the public some of its concerns.
You know, we will have to go to Parliament with this bill. Right? Everybody knows that. And I'm sure the first criticism would be, oh, there was no period of consultation. This bill was online for two weeks. And even though the deadline has passed, there is nothing stopping anyone, including the opposition, from submitting their comments or suggestions or ideas to us at the Ministry of Natural Resources. There's nothing stopping them from doing that, because we are still in the process now. The Attorney General Chambers, along with the Ministry, is working towards compiling those comments and looking at the bill and to see how applicable are some of them, so that we can integrate it and have a stronger bill to present in Parliament and to in the long run monitor the sector.
There are a number of new provisions and very stiff penalties in the draft bill for those who fall afoul of the law. The bill also expands the legislation to cover CO2 storage and pipeline transportation, no doubt a nod to the Gas to Shore project. Notably, the ministry has assured that more regulations will follow in the coming months to further boost the sector's oversight. Jarrell Bryan, The Evening News.
The Housing Ministry today distributed 800 house lots along the east coast of Demerara as it launched the second edition of the Dream Realized Housing Drive for 2023. Rupasina Ryan tells us more.
The lots were allocated along Good Hope, Two Friends, and Luziknan to low and moderate income earners. After spending hundreds of millions of dollars to develop the area, the Housing Ministry opened the lots for as low as $100,000. When the areas are fully developed, there will be spaces for worship, an entertainment center, 2 playgrounds, and 12 government buildings which will feature health centers and other services. Industrial and commercial activities are also being catered for to spark job creation. Chief Executive Officer of the Central Housing and Planning Authority, Sherwin Graves, shared that these new allottees will be benefiting from prime areas since a new commercial zone is in the pipeline for Enmore.
Let me just bring a picture to you. You will be having a road coming all the way from Ogle that goes all the way to Enmore. And that road passes directly through where you will be occupying. So you will not be at the back of anything. You will be in the front of that allocation and that new village that is coming. Now, added to that, in Enmore, within the end of this year and early next year, there will be a massive commercial industrial area set aside there, similar to what you see there's one in Eccles right now. Similar to that in Eccles, there'll be one in Enmore, but much bigger than the one in Eccles.
The overall intention of government through its robust housing initiative is to ensure Guyanese transcend from the poverty lines and move towards financial freedom. This was positioned by Minister within the Ministry of Housing, Suzanne Rodriguez.
We do not believe in keeping people in bondage or have you paying rent for the rest of your life. And we can achieve empowerment through home ownership and land ownership. You would have heard the opposition talk about things like rent subsidy or subsidization of rent for low-income earners. That is not something that we believe can benefit people in the long run. We believe that that will keep people in poverty.
Meanwhile, Housing Minister Colin Kroll reiterated that there continues to be unscrupulous activities in relation to house lot sales and persons continue to fall prey. As such, he called for support from the public in prosecuting such individuals.
They'll come to me or they'll come to somebody from the ministry and they'll say, I've been duped so many $100,000 because somebody promised a house lot. And now I see joining the bandwagon is a promise for a house. And I'll say to them, fine, provide the information, we'll do the investigation. We go as far to start doing the investigation. In order for us to make persons example, you have to give statements. That's how it works. But when it comes to that part of it, you turn back and say, No, I don't want no story. How can we help the system?
Rupa Sinarayan, The Evening News.
With President Dr. Irfan Ali scheduled to travel to China later this month, a packed agenda has already been crafted for the official state visit. Tasia Dickinson reports that among those agenda items is to explore financing options for the LETHEM to MABURA Hill road project.
President Dr. Irfan Ali will soon meet with China's head of state, where the topic of financing for the completion of the LETHEM to MABURA Hill road project will likely occur. The Linden to LETHEM road project is being executed in phases. Guyana has already secured financing and works are ongoing on the Linden to MABURA section. Guyana and Brazil are collaborating on completing the MABURA to LETHEM stretch of the project.
We are already discussing with Brazil and other stakeholders, and I'm sure this will be an agenda item in China itself with President Xi, on how we are going to complete the road from LETHEM all the way to MABURA Hill. So we'll have a full highway that will integrate the transport logistics of northern Brazil, Guyana, and the rest of the region.
Meanwhile, Public Works Minister Juan Egil, during a recent site visit to the project, urged the contractor to ensure the initiative is delivered on time.
The issue of the time management, putting in more teams, is one that we have discussed. Our project management team that we have hired for the technical have advised the contractor. They have made submissions of their revised work program. They're anticipating that by end of September, the first 10 kilometers of this road would be asphaltic concrete paved. In order for us to be able to accomplish this road within the timelines, they will have to do at least 5 to 7 kilometers per month, 5 being the minimum number. We're looking for substantial completion by February 2025.
The Linden to LETHEM road is being upgraded to an all-weather road, with the contractor being required to produce an asphaltic surface capable of withstanding the heavily laden lorries which currently use the thoroughfare. The US $190 million contract was signed in May 2022 with Brazilian company Constructoro Cures Galvo SA for the construction of the 121-kilometer road. The project is being funded by the Caribbean Development Bank via a US $112 million loan, a grant to the tune of US $66 million from the United Kingdom under the Caribbean Infrastructure Partnership Fund, and an input of US $12 million from the Guyana government. Tasia Dickinson, The Evening News.
Coming up, shoppers urged to report stores with no refund policies signs, and candidates shortlisted for Guyana's new ambassador to India. Do stay with us. More news ahead.
Turbo Energy Drink rolling out the Turbo Hot Summer Wheels promotion. Win a brand new 2023 Honda HR-V plus over $3 million in weekly cash and prizes. Just grab any bottle of Turbo Energy Drink, Buster or Classic, and locate the 8-digit code on the bottle. Then visit Turbo IG and Facebook at Turbo_Caribbean for more details. Conditions apply.
Premier insurance coverage for less. Stay safe. For bid, performance, retention, advanced mobilisation or customs bonds, bond with us. Fuel your success. Call 223-0840 or visit premierinsurance.gy. Premier Insurance coverage.
Knock off. The Oreos belong to us.
No, they belong to whoever finds them first.
Get your Oreo Transformers Limited Edition and awaken the beast.
Complete control of power is in your hands with the ultimate U.S. brand Generac generators from Sylvie's Variety Store. Get the supply and reliability you need every time. From 1,800 to 8,000 watts of power for residential and commercial use. Recoil and electric start with gasoline engines. Generac generators from the authorized dealers Sylvie's Variety Store.
Traveling soon? Then come into John Lewis Styles on Waterloo Street and let's help you choose the right set of luggage. You can choose to buy 3-piece luggage sets, or separate pieces, but the sets are always a better deal. Either available in soft poly, or ABS hard side material, with 4-wheeled spinners, and in many colors too. Also available are carry-on luggage, computer bags, duffel bags, backpacks, travel pillows, blankets and lots more to make your trip enjoyable. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. The Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission is reminding that the law allows people to obtain a refund on goods, noting that no refund policies and signs are illegal and contrary to the Consumers Affairs Act 2011. In a recent notice, the CCAC urged consumers not to hesitate to ask for a refund. The Consumer Handbook states that consumers have up to 7 days to return non-defective items, and that said items must be unused, not tampered with, and in their original package. Customers can be charged up to a 10% restocking fee, and those defective items can be returned anytime during the warranty period. It further states that a consumer may return goods if the purpose for which the goods were bought or intended to be used has changed or ceased to exist immediately after the goods were bought. Section 22 of the Act outlines the process for returning defective goods. To receive a refund or to return a good, consumers must have sufficient proof of purchase. When a supplier sells goods or services, it must provide the consumer with a receipt setting out the purchase price and value-added tax separately, the date the purchase was made, and the description of the goods sold or services provided. The receipts shall be legible for 12 months. During 2022, it was reported that the CCAC resolved over 400 complaints, resulting in more than 107 million being refunded to various consumers. It usually receives complaints across 19 categories, the leading being in the electronics, electronic services, auto industry, and appliance and construction industry. We now tell you that in strengthening its foreign policy, a major focus for the Guyana government, according to Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Minister Hugh Todd, is filling the various diplomatic posts at overseas missions. Tassia Dickinson reports that to date, several candidates have been shortlisted for at least one of the vacant posts.
During a recent live broadcast on efforts being undertaken to foster bilateral relations and position Guyana as a global leader, President Dr. Irfan Ali had indicated that government has to ensure that all of its foreign missions are adequately staffed. Currently, Guyana's embassies in Belgium and Geneva are without ambassadors, while its High Commission in India is without a High Commissioner. Speaking with this newscast recently, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Relations Hugh Todd said with regards to the vacancy in New Delhi, some progress has been made.
The President has shortlisted several suitable individuals who will perform at a very high standard for us. It's a priority for him, and we're looking to ensure that those posts are filled soonest, because it's important for our work on the international, within the international environment. We need to have the ambassadors at post to help us to advance our foreign policy.
This post became vacant in October 2022 after Guyana's then High Commissioner in India, Charandas Prasad, was recalled following the circulation of a video which shows him verbally abusing a woman outside of his official residence in New Delhi. While an investigation by Indian authorities found no evidence of misconduct during the August 2021 incident, which only came to light last year, President Dr. Irfan Ali had emphasized the importance of representatives of Guyana conducting themselves in the highest regard. On this note, the head of state had said it is in the best interest that Prasad return home. Meanwhile, Minister Todd did not give a timeline as to when these foreign posts will be filled, but assured that the government is committed to doing this before the end of the year.
The President is committed to getting those posts filled before the end of the end of the year.
Meanwhile, in the region, Guyana's foreign consulate in Barbados is currently without a head. Additionally, the Embassy of Guyana in both Brazil and Venezuela are also without ambassadors. Tassia Dickinson, The Evening News.
Taking into consideration the various concerns that were raised regarding the existing breakfast menu under the Ministry of Education's school feeding program, some new changes will be made as authorities seek to cater to the needs of the beneficiaries. Andrew Carmichael reports that the new menu will come on stream for the new school term in September.
A total of 51 caterers who have been contracted to supply breakfast to schools in Region 6, East Berbice Quarantine, under the Education Ministry's School Breakfast Program, underwent a 2-day certification program at the St. Francis Developers Training Building. The aim of the training was to enhance the ability of persons who cater for the Education Ministry's Breakfast Program for primary schools so that they will be able to prepare a variety of dishes at an elevated standard and with the requisite skills in displaying those dishes. The curriculum was produced by St. Francis Community Developers, and according to the organization's president, Alex Foster, it is hoped that the complaints that the ministry receive will be reduced as a result of the enhanced ability of the caterers to produce food. The Guyana Fire Service and the Health Ministry were also incorporated in the training. The Fire Service focused on providing information on the guidelines needed to be adhered to so as to reduce the risk of fires in the kitchen. The Health Ministry, through its Environmental Health Department, focused on the procedure of acquiring updated food handler certificates. The department also focused on the handling of food and care of food. Regional Education Officer Satish Udit explained that over the past year, the Education Department in Region 6 has received numerous complaints about the service provided as it relates to the breakfast program. Udit pointed out that for the new school year, efforts will be made to assist service providers with the skills to provide quality and healthy breakfast for students at the primary level. Meanwhile, National Coordinator Mahindra Pagwe explained that many of the complaints were based on cultural preferences, which are now being taken into consideration.
Because oftentimes, the first thing we think of is the nutrition aspect, but we also need to be very cognizant that these are young students that we're dealing with, and so the cultural aspect has to be taken into consideration. So some of the complaints we would have had is some students do not like the puri and sour in the morning for breakfast, and they prefer puri and aloo curry instead. Maybe that's because what we found the difference in is that in the schools in Georgetown, they prefer the puri and sour as compared to the puri and curry. So those are some complaints that we would have gotten.
He noted that all meals will cater for certain religious communities that have certain eating preferences, namely Hindus, Muslims, and Rastafarians. Currently, students are given either boiled and fried chana, boiled and fried black-eyed peas, cheese sandwiches, or milk or cereal. The new menu will see the removal of the black-eyed meal and the addition of fruit bowls, potato pies, dal puri and sour or dal puri and potato curry, and hot dogs. The new menu will take into effect when the new school term begins. Currently, more than 13,000 pupils are benefiting from the government's breakfast program. This program is in addition to the Education Ministry's Hot Meals program, which serves meals to primary and primary top students in regions 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. For the evening news, Andrew Carmichael.
Here is Andrew Carmichael again with this story on the court appearance of 2 suspects in the murder of a resident of Kilcoy squatting area, Quarantine Berbice.
The two men accused of murdering a Kilcoy quarantine laborer were on Monday remanded when they appeared in a New Amsterdam Magistrates Court charged with the capital offense. Vishal Deonarine, 33, called Gabar, and Vishal Vikram Ramsamy, 23, called Max, both of Kilcoy squatting area quarantine, are alleged to have killed Leon Aswell Kum at Kilcoy squatting area between July 4th and 5th. They appeared before Magistrate Peter Yu and were not required to plead to the indictable charge. The prosecution told the court that the file is incomplete as they are awaiting a post-mortem report and also an analyst report on blood samples. According to the prosecution, the police has 10 witnesses and 2 caution statements along with 10 video interviews, and as such asked for 2 weeks to put the entire file together. The duo was remanded until July 26, and the matter has been transferred to the Albion Court. On Wednesday last, the body of Kum was discovered in a home at Kilcoy. Residents reportedly saw 2 men exiting shortly before the discovery was made. Reports are that the 2 accused and the now dead man had a misunderstanding over cocaine which led to a scuffle. The Evening News understands that one of the accused held down Kum while the other used a knife to stab him to the neck. They then fled the scene but were later arrested. Andrew Carmichael, The Evening News.
And now for a look at the bridge reports.
The Demerara Harbour Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Tuesday, July 11th at 23:30 hours for a period of 1.5 hours. Meanwhile, the Berbice River Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Tuesday, July 11th at 11:10 hours for a period of 1.5 hours.
Lara confident of West Indies' chances against India, and Darius Ramsamy shines at Stage of Champions. Details of these stories and more in this sportcast sponsored by MacCorp, coming up on the other side of the break.
Superbet, your best bet. Win with Superbet. With many products to choose from, winning can be endless. Visit an agent near you or www.superbet.gy to play your favorite games. Must be 18 years and older. Terms and conditions apply. Play responsibly.
Turbo energy drink rolling out the Turbo Hot Summer Wheels promotion. Win a brand new 2023 Honda HR-V plus over $3 million in weekly cash and prizes. Just grab any bottle of Turbo energy drink, Buster or Classic, and locate the 8-digit code on the bottle. Then visit Turbo IG and Facebook at Turbo_Caribbean. For more details, conditions apply.
Look out! The Oreos belong to us.
No, they belong to whoever finds them first.
Get your Oreo Transformers Limited Edition and awaken the beast.
Looking to bring your dream home to reality? Or simply taking on a home improvement project? Then National Hardware Limited is where you should start. Let us put that touch to your home. Choose from over 1,000 Berger Paint original hues for any surface. We are known for our trusted brands such as Westinghouse, Philips, Sadco, Rubbermaid, Pyrex, Gibson Home, and so much more. National Hardware Limited, your do-it-best store. Located in downtown Georgetown and industrial site Rhymeville.